You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
The story that I said I wasn't going to cover was the crash of the helicopter in this building on 57th Street and 7th Avenue in New York on yesterday. I said I wasn't going to cover it, but I sat and I watched it. I turned on the television like most of you and saw the event. I saw the helicopter do this deep dive in the low ceiling skies, and it was by that the clouds it was raining most of yesterday. And so if you're flying by instruments, okay, that's one thing, but usually helicopters flying around New York City fly by way of just visual sight. And when I looked at the helicopter, what the engineer has just put up, thank you very much, Mr. Engineer, the crash of that helicopter indicates that there was something else going on there. This building, if you look at it, the helicopter was smashed to smithereens. And it wasn't that high off of the ground, not that high off the top of the building. The building, I think, is 51 to 52 stories high. The helicopter was just when it actually crashed, it was only about 40 or 50 feet above the building. So that kind of a crash would not have happened in a normal a rough landing. And you have to remember as well that the pilot was conscious when the helicopter went down, so he would have landed it rather than crashed it. But the reason why you see those little bitty pieces there is that there was a major explosion that one of the drivers, a cab driver, said there on 7th Avenue, he felt like someone pushed him. The explosion was so powerful. So the reason why I said I wasn't going to cover this story today was because, well, I didn't want to get in trouble with with the CIA, the Homeland Security boys and all that crowd. But I believe that this helicopter was on a mission to Trump Tower, because Trump Tower is just a few blocks east of where that helicopter went down. Trump Tower is on 55th Street, between 56th Street and 56th Street on 5th Avenue. The helicopter went down on 57th Street and 7th Avenue. So you're talking 2 blocks as you travel east and 2 blocks south. So the helicopter was only 4 blocks away from Trump Tower. Now, Trump Tower is approximately the same height as this building that the helicopter did crash into. And so I didn't want to say that my suspicions are that this helicopter was aimed at Trump Tower. And it wasn't aimed to land on top of it, because you can't land aircraft on top of buildings anymore since the Pan Am building going back years ago. My suspicion, and I'm just saying this as my suspicion, I don't want Homeland Security knocking on my door. I don't want Facebook banning me as some sort of conspiracy theorist and hooking me up with Alex Jones or somebody and banning me from ever broadcasting on Facebook again. That's not what I want. But I just want to share some thoughts that perhaps millions of Americans probably, and people around the world probably thought, and to some degree, I would go ahead and say were potentially true. I believe that when that helicopter left the 34th Street heliport and flew uptown, it flew uptown with the purpose, I believe this. Now, again, Homeland Security, don't come knocking on my door. I don't have any proof. I don't have any evidence except just looking at the circumstances. Well, what was this lone pilot doing up that far into over New York City on yesterday? Except that his target would have been the Trump Tower. You say, well, Trump wasn't in the tower yesterday. No, but here is what would happen. I think we need to check out the background of this pilot to see if he's a Magoga. You would say, what's a Magoga? A Magoga is Gog and Magog, those 2 wicked places of the Bible. And if you look at the MAGA hats, it's MAGA, it's M-A-G-A, it's Magog. Trump is Magog. The MAGA hat is Magog. And if this helicopter pilot was a Magog or opposed to Magog, we don't know. But a crash into Trump Tower would have been able to salvage him from a failing bid. There are condos, apartments in Trump Tower selling for as much as $6 million some years ago. Some selling for, I think, Paul Manafort's one bedroom or two bedroom space that he had in Trump Tower. He purchased, I think, for $1.7 million. Michael Jackson had a space in Trump Tower. I think he purchased for over $6 million. But the $6 million and the $5 million and the $4 million and the $1 million condos in Trump Tower are now selling at 60% below value because Trump Tower has become the most unpopular building in all of New York City. People hate it. They hate the Trump Tower. New Yorkers, as you know, hate Trump, and it snarls traffic, but they hate it. So people are trying to sell their properties, and a lot of people are taking a loss. People are taking a 50% loss. The reason why I know about Paul Manafort's building is because the court confiscated and foreclosed on Paul Manafort's property there in Trump Tower, and now the American people owns Paul Manafort's apartment in Trump Tower. You can buy it if you like. What does that got to do with anything? If a helicopter would have flown in, we're just looking at the potential of things. Homeland Security don't come knocking on my door. But let's say, for instance, Trump Tower, Trump was able to get one of his irate and most devoted supporters to fly a helicopter into about the 30th floor where his office is. And it would be able to slam right in like the planes flew into to World Trade Center about midway the building. And fly in where his office is on, I think it's on the 27th floor. It would destroy all of the records that are there, destroy all the computers that are there, destroy everything, and Trump's information that Hope Hicks and others would be able to try to talk about, or Michael Cohen or Alan Weisselberger, who is the accountant for Trump. All that information would have been destroyed if that helicopter had flown into the Trump Tower and decimated in the middle of the building, and it would have collapsed the building in terms of its worthiness as a property. Everybody would have to move out, and Trump could then do an insurance claim on the building and recoup billions of dollars in terms of the property worth. That was my thinking yesterday. I'm sitting there and I'm watching this, and I'm perhaps this is what is going on. But I said, I better not say anything about it. I said, I better not say anything about it, because if I do, Homeland Security is going to come knocking on my door and everything else. But no, I'm not afraid of Homeland Security. I'm not afraid. They can knock on my door all the hell they want. I'll knock on their door. That's what I think went on yesterday. And the pilot, because of the heavy skies and the low ceiling, cloudy skies, missed his mark and crashed that helicopter into the wrong building, on top of the wrong building. That's what I believe that took place. It was highly unusual for that to have taken place unless there was a target. That helicopter, where was he going and why was he going? And the New York City Police Department, Commissioner O'Neill and Mayor de Blasio, they've been very tight-lipped about this process. So let me recap. I believe, it doesn't make it true, but I'm entitled to my belief. At least we used to have the constitutional belief of free speech, and I'm certainly not inciting that Trump Tower should be attacked, but I believe that helicopter was headed for the broadside, for the Fifth Avenue side of the Trump Tower at the 27th floor, to smash into it the way those planes smashed into the World Trade Center and destroy all the evidence that Trump Tower has locked away in his evidence and files that Hope Hicks and others had. Therefore, when they begin to demand information, Trump can simply say it was destroyed in the fire when the building was attacked or the building was hit by the helicopter. That's what I think. What do you think? You think it's just this helicopter was well experienced. He was well trained. Everybody knew of his capabilities. But when a helicopter, listen, man, Look at how small those pieces are. There was an explosion yesterday. I believe that helicopter. And if you look at the yellow parts of the building and the way the sheet metal is ripped apart, and you look at how the rear end of the helicopter is the only thing that's left. The rest of it, when it lands, it crash lands. It don't crash land like that. I guarantee you cannot find another crash landing of a helicopter anywhere in the history of helicopters since the Wright brothers did their thing, or Mr. Sikorsky did his thing up in Connecticut and inventing a helicopter like that. That was an explosion. And look at the fire. Look at how charred everything is, how burned everything is. I believe that helicopter was loaded with explosives and was headed for Trump Tower. And I believe that it would have pulled Trump out of some very difficult situations, both financially, because Trump Tower that building is the most hated building in all of New York City right now because of the person that owns it. It's losing money, and this would have been a win-win for Trump. That's what I believe. Now, you can tell me what you believe, and we can, compare notes. But I think yesterday's helicopter crash was a hit job that went awry on Trump Tower. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.